What's up, guys? Today we are going to today I thought I would go over some tips for Galaxy's Edge. Now these are just regular practical tips. There's not a lot of them, but it's sort of changed the way that they've done things too since we went. So we went when you still had the reservation system, and that was kind of like I had a lot more tips for that, for if they continue to do that, but they're not doing that anymore. So at the moment, you go check in at Disneyland for Galaxy's Edge, and you get a time, almost like a fast pass. And so they call it a boarding pass, obviously, for it's another planet. You're going to another planet, and so they actually kind of allow you to spend an open-ended amount of time there now. So before we had 4 hours, and one of the tips I was going to give was make sure that you know that there's going to be an hour on each side with other people. You'll really only have 2 hours with your group, but that doesn't matter anymore. And so let's get into these are just regular practical tips that I'm going to give that will hopefully help you have some fun. Galaxy's Edge is super cool. Obviously, as you can see, I called it super cool a lot. So let's get into the tips. The first one is just play along. When you go to Galaxy's Edge, you often will hear the cast members saying bright suns, and you know, the way they talk is, it's almost, you are in a different world. You're on a different planet. They really want you to experience the experience of Galaxy's Edge is like, it's a whole thing. And so they really want you to feel like you're somewhere else, that you're on a distant galaxy planet, that you're, you know, it's a different world. And so the look of it is pretty amazing. It does feel like you're on a different planet just from looking around. Like, you can't, I mean, the way they were smart the way they built it, because it really does feel like you're outside of Disneyland. That it's a different kind of magic, which is cool. And so play along with the cast members. You often will see a lot of the characters walking around. You'll see Stormtroopers and Kylo Ren and Rey will be running around. Often you can see her hiding from the First Order, which is super fun to see. And so you get to experience that sort of, they're all there as characters, and so it's super fun to see. And we recommend that you really play along with it. You know, have fun. If the Stormtroopers are harassing you, you know, play along. It's super fun. And I've heard that each cast member has their own story, and so talk to them, you know, ask them questions about where they're from, or what they're doing. And you know, it's a whole thing that you know, it's fun. It's just a great time, and definitely play along with the whole aesthetic, so because it's cool. Another practical tip: bring your wallet. All the really cool things there are super expensive, but they come with a really fun experience. And so one of the videos we did, we made this guy over here, our little droid friend, and he wasn't cheap, but I thought the fact that you got to pull him off the conveyor belt and put them all together and put the pieces on and sync it up for the first time, it was really cool. And the cool thing about the droids too are if people don't know, but they have Bluetooth inside of them, and so when you're walking around Star Wars Land with your droid, it reacts to different things. So like, as we walked by the Millennium Falcon, it was kind of chirping at me, you know, as we were in the ride queue, it was chirping at me. So it does cool things like that. Apparently, if you have a resistance chip in your droid, you will you'll walk through the First Order area and they'll like get scared and stuff. So it's just really cool what they did for the droids to just sort of give more of an experience that way. So a side note about the droids and the different personality chips, essentially all they're doing is changing the voice of the droid. So I don't know, a lot of people are not really sure what they do, but let me show you. So inside there's a little door. Yes, I know. And so like, does he still? Oh, is he? Oh, I think he turned off. Hold on a second. Okay, turn it back on. So he has a personality chip. It's this little drawer in here that I opened up. And so this is what he sounds like. And then when you take out the personality chip, I can get it. He sounds like R2. So basically all you're doing is changing the voice, which I think is cool because the voice, I mean, it makes him cool. I got the scoundrel one, which is pretty funny. So he's a little bit of a scoundrel, but so yeah, so just if you want, if it's like 15 bucks, and if you're an annual pass holder, you do get a discount on the personality chip, but the droid does not have a discount. But it's super fun to build. I have not done the lightsaber thing. I horribly badly want to do it, and I know that it's really hard for me to, once after this, I use my birthday money for that, and so it's hard for me to justify doing the lightsaber, but it's on my list of things to do at some point. But it is expensive, but it also is a much more bigger experience than building a droid. And so that's what I really think that's cool about Galaxy's Edge, is they really went kind of above and beyond with the experience side versus, you know, you go to Fantasyland and it's like music and everything looks cool and there's some characters around and stuff, but like you go to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and it's like an immersive experience where you feel like you're on a different planet. And so there's lore for almost everything, and that's why it's like important to talk to some of the cast members, because you can kind of get a bigger, more immersive experience. So yeah, so you'll see a lot of people slinging those lightsabers around. They're pretty cool. They are expensive. It's 200 bucks to do the lightsaber, then it's 100. I think it's 100 for this. I think, I don't remember. I think it's 100 for this. So yeah. So bring your wallet. Things are expensive. There's an antique. I think it's, I forget the name of it, but it's like an antique shop. There's usually a line for it because it's kind of a smaller store. But there's a lot of really, really cool things in there that I would love to have that are all very expensive. And so there's like robes. There's like robes that are kind of copies of the ones that were used in the movies specifically for Luke Skywalker. There's different kyber crystals that you can get. There's all sorts of really fun things in that store that are just like amazing, that I would love to have, but it's hard to justify spending that much money there, especially because there's a lot of other stuff going on. But so bring your wallet. It's going to be expensive, but it's worth it. The experience alone is really fun, but the building of the things is also super cool. And so if you haven't seen the lightsaber, if you don't care about spoilers, I checked, there's a couple of videos out there floating on YouTube of people doing the builds, and so they are, they're worth the watch. If you are like, I want to know what it is, but I don't want to spend the money, that's what I did. And so I know it made me actually want to do it more. So do that. Third tip would be explore. Make sure you go in all the stores. There's a lot of nooks and crannies and areas that I'm pretty sure we missed a couple spots, but make sure you're checking everything out. There's a First Order store that's pretty cool. That's where I got this stuff. Kind of wander around. It's where Kylo Ren's ship is. It's all these stores now. They're a lot smaller than like the normal Disney sort of stores, and so they're a little hard to kind of maneuver. So I would recommend kind of, if you don't want to go on the Millennium Falcon ride, if you get one of the first slots of the day and there's kind of a rush, I would suggest going to all the stores first, because the stores are really tiny, and so it's hard to kind of maneuver through all of them, especially in the market area. Now the market area is really cool. I would recommend spending a little. We did not spend that much time there. I wish I could have spent more time there because there's so much to just look at. There's things in you know, up above, hanging from the roofs or on the walls up above. There's, you know, they outdid themselves with the way that everything looks. Looks pretty authentic to how you might see. I mean, obviously there's no alien planets that we've explored, but I feel like that's probably what it would be like in these different markets. And so it's pretty cool to see all that stuff. It's very Star Wars. So make sure you're exploring. Look at all the details of things. There's a lot of stuff going on there. It's a super fun place. And there's just, I don't know, there's just a lot. There's a lot there. And so I wish we could have spent a little bit more time exploring, but we only had so many hours, and we spent a long time in line for the droids. That's the other thing, is if you are planning on building a droid or doing the lightsaber, just expect a long line, because that's just how it is. There's gonna be, he agrees with me. So there's gonna be a long line for that, and then there's gonna be probably a long line for the cantina. Now, we did not do the cantina. That's on the list at some point. I want to go check it out and see what it's about. Food wise, there's nothing there for us to eat, so really I just want to poke my head in there. And so yeah, so make sure you're exploring. Just really take it all in, walk around, have fun. So another practical tip, so tip 4, if you get motion sick, if the Star Wars ride in Tomorrowland gets you sick at all, or any roller coaster or whatever it is, make sure that if you are dying to go on the Millennium Falcon ride, just sit back as an engineer. The pilot seat might be good for you too, because you legitimately are controlling the ride, and so maybe if you're controlling it, it won't make you feel motiony as much. But I know for Amy, she gets super motion sick. Star Wars ride always makes her feel weird. She's never thrown up on like the Star Wars ride or anything, but she gets off and she feels, you know, pretty nauseous and gross. And so I would recommend sitting in the back. That's where we sat when we did it, and it doesn't really feel like you're being jerked around at all, and you're focusing so much on what's going on with your job, because I feel like the engineer has the most job. They push the most buttons. Like I wasn't able to watch a lot of what was going on the screen. I had so much stuff to do over here, and so I would recommend sitting back as an engineer, because that way you're not getting you're kind of back further, so you're not dipping down as much like the pilots do, and so you might not get as sick. And so I just recommend sitting as an engineer if you're motion sick, because for the most part the ride isn't too bad. I thought I feel like the Star Wars ride is a little bit more motiony, and so I don't know if that's just because the group that we were with, because we got put with, you know, you get put with other groups if you can't fill a Falcon up. So yeah, so make sure you sit as an engineer if you're motion sickness, because you might not get sick back there. Tip 5 is make sure you're taking a lot of pictures, because for me, I didn't take as many as I wanted. Like I had a whole plan when I went in there, like I'm gonna take all these pictures, I'm gonna do all this stuff, and then it's just like you're so overwhelmed by everything that you kind of lose track of like what your brain is separated, and you're like, this is amazing, and you're just looking at everything without taking pictures. And so I took a couple pictures of the Millennium Falcon, which was really cool. We got a couple of photo pass pictures, but I forgot to take pictures of almost everything else. I didn't take any pictures of the Kylo Ren stuff. I didn't take any pictures of like some of the speeders that were thought were cool. And so just make sure that you remember to take a lot of pictures, so that you at least remember it, and take pictures with yourself in there, because the area is super cool. It's a super fun place to go, and you know, I think honestly, when they were first building it, I was really excited, but as it got closer and closer and closer, you know, they had to close things and move stuff around. They had to close the backside of the Rivers of America, and they changed it, and they did, you know, the new train path and all this stuff. And sometimes it's like, oh no, you know, the original stuff is gone, and so you start thinking about that, and it was just like a general worry of, you know, what's going to happen at Disneyland. What's it going to look like if they add this new land? And honestly, I think it's great what they did, and especially how they built it, because the way that they built it, it's hard to see from around the park. You know, there's a certain couple spots that obviously we were peeking in through on certain rides. Big Thunder, you can peek in there, and so it was one of those things where as you're coming around Rivers of America, you can see some of the rock formations and stuff, but for the most, like, it's pretty kind of behind everything, and I think they did that on purpose because they want the experience to feel different. And so Disneyland's amazing. We have so much fun there all the time. But the addition of Star Wars Land, I think, is smart the way they did it, because it does feel like you're in a different place, and just the details in it are incredible. Always kind of like, you know, I'd say before Avatar Land, because Avatar Land's pretty good. Even if you don't like the Avatar movies, like, I'm not the biggest fan of the Avatar movie. I basically just was like, oh, it's Ferngully, you know, it's Ferngully in 3D. But the details that they put into that were amazing. The animatronic, oh my gosh, the animatronic. If you haven't been to Avatar Land, I suggest looking up the Avatar, or not the, sorry, I guess it isn't, I don't know what it is. It's the alien animatronic that's in the river ride that they have. Is that alone, like, the ride is super short, but that animatronic blew my mind because it looked so real. And so with that, you know, at Star Wars Land, they even one up that one with the guy who does the Millennium Falcon. I forget what his name is. I'm sorry, I'm a bad fan. But the guy who, you know, as you go and do the mission story part, the animatronic up there looks like a real person. It's super weird, and I don't know. I was going somewhere with that, but I forgot. But the details. So the details were incredible at Star Wars Land. Like, they did such a good job. And I've always kind of had this thing with Harry Potter Land at Universal. I always thought the Harry Potter stuff was probably the most detailed of any theme park I've ever seen, because they did. And I know that offends Amy, and so I'm sorry, Amy, but just the details what they put into the Harry Potter stuff at Universal Orlando. Not so much at Hollywood. I feel like the Hollywood one's way smaller, but the stuff at Universal Orlando is just incredible, the way they really thought about everything. And so that actually, I feel like, really pushed Disney to make things even more detailed, because I have to say Star Wars Land's the best theme area I've ever seen in my life. And I don't know what will top it, because even that they're building the Marvel stuff at DCA, I don't think it'll top Star Wars Land, because they did such a good job with details. They thought about everything, and it really does feel like an immersive experience. And so I really recommend going if you can. I know the parks are super slow right now. We were supposed to go yesterday, and we were kind of, Amy still's not feeling the best, and so we decided, like, oh, let's just, you know, she can sleep in and stuff, but we're gonna go tonight. We want to see Star Wars Land at night. And so yesterday, apparently there was almost nobody in the parks, and so we're gonna, hopefully tonight it'll be like that, and we get to experience a little bit more. I'm gonna have to say no to my wallet a lot, because I'm gonna want to buy everything, but we're really excited about Star Wars Land and the future of different Disney theme parks. And so I rambled a little bit long on this video, but if these tips helped you, let me know. If you have any extra tips down below that you've been a couple times, or you've been and you know some things that maybe I didn't mention, go ahead and leave a comment below, because I really, you know, I want this to help people, because I know some people were kind of on the fence about Star Wars Land, even though they weren't big fans, but it's worth going even if you're not a fan. It might turn you into a fan, who knows. So thanks for watching the video, guys. If you like the video, if it helps you, give me a thumbs up. If you're new, hit the subscribe button. We're still a growing channel. We don't, you know, we're still new to all this stuff, and so we're trying to get better. We're trying to get better. So yeah, so thanks for watching, and hopefully these tips help out.